Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs. And the ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start. The game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
Oh, yeah. Oh, Sam. It's like the day before Christmas.
Indeed.
I'll tell you that much.
Indeed.
Opening day, Tamara. How do you feel about the Friday game? I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't mind. I like either Friday or Monday, not both. But, beggars can't be choosers.
I like Friday. I just don't like Man City versus Burnley. That's
That's
possibly
fair.
the worst matchup you could come up with. Honestly, I would have liked to see Luton
like Luton
better
would have been cool.
than Burnley.
Yeah.
We
know it's going to happen.
we know what's going to happen. We know Burnley, even though it's a different Burnley, but still it's Burnley.
Yes.
But it is what it is. Saturday is the real deal. Saturday and Sunday, big action.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, and plenty of news just
say
in
the
the
least.
past hour or so, even
Yes.
coming out of the Premier League. So, lots to cover in this episode.
Let's get right to it.
Yeah,
We got a lot.
10
We
per
got a
one.
lot. Yes. So let's start off, Sam. Number 10. We got Brentford.
Brentford, last year ninth place.
Walk us through it.
Ninth place. Personnel, their formations, they like to play a mix of 4-3-3 and then also a back 3/back 5 at times. 3-5-2, 5-3-2. Obviously, big players. Ivan Toney is going to be banned for a good, solid chunk of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly half the season, I think.
Thereabouts.
So that's obviously a huge miss. That's their best player. And then you have the supporting cast, Jensen, Mbumo, Ben-Mee, guys like that. Mbumo had a great end of the season last year after Tony was out.
Yeah, you really saw peak years last year out of a lot of their defenders. Pinnock, very solid. You were always a big Ben-Mee guy at Burnley. You even rated him over Tarkowski. It's one of those things where he performed even better than I think most people thought.
Absolutely.
He stepped up when Pontus Janssen went out pretty early in the year for the rest of the year. So it's one of those things where you can't really expect those guys to play as well as they did last year, yet they're getting a lot more back in terms of healthy players with like Ayer and whatnot. But yeah, like you said about Tony, obviously a top 5 striker in the league, no doubt. You can make the case top 3. It's really going to set them back, obviously attack-wise, and it's one of those things where it really distinguishes them from, teams like Crystal Palace and whatnot. Now it kind of throws them a little closer to the Crystal Palace tier, Bournemouth tier kind of teams in our books. Not as clear-cut, but there's a distinct gap where it's like, okay, they'll for sure stay up and that.
Yeah.
Because, there's a chance, we have the ceiling basement at between 9 and 14, and it could even be slightly lower than 14, but I think 14 is a good number. I think, the big thing will be that the secondary attackers are really stepping up, and it's which young guys will blossom, if any, for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 9 through 14 for the ceiling. in the basement, like he said. It's hard to imagine them getting much higher than ninth just because the quality of teams above them is just immense. And
And you're
look,
capped by Tony, to be quite
you're
frank.
capped by Tony, and you're capped by the fact that you don't spend that much money. Um,
True.
but on the other hand, you have teams below you that are just complete dumpster fire, like Wolves and Everton and Sheffield United and Luton. So you got a pretty good cushion there.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess my main thing was, when I look at them, which young guys will step up like we're talking about, whether it's Shada, Keen Lewis Potter, Damsgaard, and then also the goalkeeper drop off because Raya was probably, I would say, top 5 goalkeeper last year. To make the case for top 3 is pretty much Ivan Toney of goalkeepers in a sense last year. But how do you feel about that? First off, about the attacking options, and then second about the goalkeeping options.
Yeah, I like the attacking options. It's just the opportunity is there for these guys. They have to take it, though. It's not just going to
Yes.
happen. Shada, we saw some flashes last season. I think he could develop into a great player. Keen Lewis Potter, he's one that has the potential there as well. And then we saw Mbumo have a great end of the season. If he can keep up that form, that would be immense.
Yes.
Um,
We're looking optimistically at them. Solid midfield, solid D, should be enough to anchor them in the mid-table, but Thomas Frank's gonna have his work cut out for him about this kind of how he's gonna formulate the attack because
mhm.
obviously a big chunk of what they do is set pieces and whatnot and dead ball situations, and they always capitalize on that. But you can never always just rely on that. They're gonna have to manufacture some goals from live action, live play.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, the goalkeeper situation, the big news coming out yesterday, David Raya to Arsenal, pretty much a done deal alone with a potential obligation to buy very shortly. Sounds like maybe just after a few appearances, and that's more so for the financial fair play aspect of it. But my
Brentford fumbled the bag a little bit on that one, not selling Raya for, asking for 40. They probably could have got like 30, 35 from Tottenham. So did they really fumble it? Probably not. They didn't lose that much, but
it sounds
they could have
like
had,
the end total is going to be around 30 for Arsenal. So
yeah. So
not the worst, but it was more funny that
they pretty
Tottenham.
much turned down the same offer from, like, guaranteed money from Tottenham right now, and then it opted to give them to Arsenal for less money now, and then in the future they'll get more.
Yeah, it was just more so funny that Tottenham immediately got scared off when they could have struck a deal for obviously less than 40. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't sound like they ever
Daniel
even
Levy was
placed a
like,
bid.
"Oh,
And
we cannot do that."
yeah, Brentford, on the other hand, if they would have sold earlier, they could have potentially better reinvested the funds.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to the
Yeah.
start of the season here, obviously, this weekend being the first game. So, yeah. So my dilemma and conclusion here, big question, obviously, Ivan Toney. How do they cope? You mentioned they're going to have to manufacture some goals from open play. Can't just rely on set pieces there. Um, and like we talked about, some of the other young guys going to have to step up and take on a bigger role in the team.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Sam was a
then
bold prediction for Brentford.
the bold prediction is that they spend 50% of the season in the bottom half of the table. And the reason I say
I like.
this is because of Ivan Toney.
Yes, I like your bold predictions. I only had one or two good ones last week. Yours were pretty in fuego
I put
on
the
these ones.
thinking
I like.
cap on.
You
Try and get a
did.
little creative.
Yes. Let's move on. Ninth place. They were in sixth place last year. We're talking about Brighton and Hove Albion. Um, personnel 4-2-3-1. Obviously, you got Sam's guy, Lewis Dunk. Got Dr. Dribbles out there. And you got a whole lot of young
Hmm.
attacking players with a whole lot of potential going on out here. Um, mainly Evan Ferguson and Joao Pedro. Uh, staples like Solly March and Pascal Gross in the team as well. Yeah, I mean, we just found out massive news there. Caicedo's for sure going. It's whether it's to Chelsea or Liverpool, and right now, Brighton has said they're going to sell it to the highest bidder, and right now it sounds like 110 million pounds for um, Liverpool and 100 million pounds for Chelsea. So it looks like it'll be going to Liverpool, and it's one of those things where Caicedo said that he wants to go to Chelsea, but as you said, he twerks for the big clubs. I think he just wants one big move.
Yeah, honestly, 110 million for Caicedo. And don't get me wrong, Caicedo's a great player, but he's had about one good season here. So you're paying more for Caicedo than for Rice, who we've seen perform at this level for years. And it's also, theoretically has the English tax.
Yeah.
Right? So is the English tax no longer
You
at this point?
you don't know about the Ecuadorian tax, my friend.
That is true. That is true.
You don't know about the Brighton tax. The Tony Bloom tax, brother. He swindles everyone.
Yeah.
We'll get a little more in Caicedo later with Liverpool and Chelsea, and probably more Liverpool the way it's shaping up. But I don't know. I just Brighton have such a good kind of foundation with their club right now that I'm not super worried about it. I'll just say it.
Yeah.
The talent drain eventually catches up to the small teams, but I think Brighton's well off of having to worry about that. Keys to success, Sam. It's the attacking play, the De Zerbi ball. You go fast. You're looking to push the pace. You're clearly just trying to win the ball back as soon as possible and run right at the team.
Yeah.
I guess my main question with them is, what is the primary 11? Who slots where? And that kind of goes back to all the depth. It's tremendous that they have so much young depth, but it's like, who steps up and who's starting right now? Like with attack, is it Joao Pedro you spent 30 mil on, or is it Ferguson who's playing well to end the year? They're so loaded they can loan out guys like Undav.
Yeah.
Wonder how guys like Mo Dahoud slide in, if he just is a direct replacement for McAllister right off the bat. We'll see. I mean, there's a few questions about it. I just like the talent and the play style with the manager works. The players make sense, so I would expect them to have success this year.
Yeah, definitely a lot of options. We even saw that towards the end of last season where they were going with some pretty big changes in their rotations, just trying out different guys, giving some younger guys some minutes.
Yeah, some younger guys like Jason Steele.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if they start the season off kind of in the same way, seeing what works, especially with the personnel change. Caicedo and McAllister are the big ones leaving, so they'll just have to try some things and see what works. For the ceiling and basement, I've got 7 to 12. Obviously, last year, 6th place, but my line of thinking was that there were a lot of big clubs last year that really just fumbled the bag, as they say. Liverpool's first half of the year was horrendous.
They weren't existent.
Chelsea was.
Todd Bowley was running a social experiment.
Yes, they were continuing Charity FC in the Bowley era.
Yes.
You got Tottenham, who's Tottenham, and then you have United, who started off like complete garbage and got battered by Brentford 4-0 in like the second week of the season. So.
Yes.
So obviously, it's hard to imagine all those will line up like they did last season. So that's why this late downgrade. But 7 to 12, I think that gives us a decent enough range where it's.
I would say so.
There's a
European
potential for
football,
drop off.
You have to figure out the lineups. It won't be as smooth as last year, but they'll still be good because the talent's there and the system's there, especially with how much young depth there is. The players will continue to grow. And then it's one of those things where I think one of them's bound to pop off, and not just. I think Joao Pedro is going to be in for an amazing year, but I think there's another guy, whether it's Ferguson or the main guy I have my eye on is Enciso, the way he kind of ended the year last year.
Yeah.
That guy's got to be one of the best, not just talent necessarily, but just pure strikers of the ball in the league already. It seems like whenever he gets a hold of one, it's just a belter. But we'll see. We will see. Also, Adam Webster back this year in terms of a normal staple for Brighton, but last year out for stretches at times.
Yeah, that'll definitely help if he can stay fit, especially considering that obviously no Levi Colwill this year back to Chelsea. My dilemma here is just like what you mentioned, just a couple question marks on the lineup. Dahoud, does he come in to fill the spot of McAllister, or do they try a few different options there? And then also, how do these young guys continue to develop? Ferguson, obviously, a big one in CISO, but then you got kind of the secondary guys like Buonanotte, who have the potential to be really good as well. So that'll be interesting to watch. And then my bold prediction is that one young star will be sold into winter window.
Who you have your eye on that it's going to be?
I'm thinking Enciso. I've seen he's already been attracting various clubs. I think Napoli was a big one that I saw were interested in already. But, Ferguson, there's such a lack of good strikers. I'd rather have Ferguson than Højlund, personally.
Yeah.
But
well, I like Holland, but not on United. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I agree. I think if I had to give a bold prediction, I think it'll be that we'll say 3 guys are double-digit goals for him.
wow.
Yeah.
And I could see
Bold.
João Pedro having a good year, like a sneaky good year that people aren't quite having.
I think it's one of those things where this year it's one of those things where you don't want to read too much into preseason. But watching him on the ball, he looks like he's like on another level from some of these guys. But
yeah, especially now that he's in a system that can really benefit him, as opposed to being stuck in Watford jail.
I was gonna say, did you not watch Chisco Munoz football? Good sir.
Yeah. The Georgian champion.
Yes. Let's move on to number 8. I think this is kind of low, but it is what it is. It's really a toss between 8 and 7 with this team. I think a lot of people need to pump their jets on this team, or pump their brakes. Everyone, cool your jets with this team. We have Villa at 8. I think they'll still be really good. Last year, 7th, obviously. Personnel mix of 4-2-3-1, little 4-4-2 action. Obviously, Ollie Watkins, John McGinn, Mr. Ramsey, the big-time players. It'll be interesting to see how much they're really relying on Diaby this year. I think he's going to be a very, very impressive player. For them, obviously, Tyrone Mings and Emi Martinez kind of create the spine of the defense and goalkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it'll be interesting to see, if how Konsa played pretty well to end the year, where Torres plays if he's more their main European guy and he rotates in every once in a while in the Premier League, but we'll see. Ceiling basement, 7-11. Sam, the keys to success for Villa, what are we looking at?
Ollie Watkins must cook. That was a big part of their success in the second half of the season.
He's been killing it this preseason again. I don't know.
Yeah, he was absolutely nuts. In terms of secondary goal scoring options, it's a little concerning. Buendia just suffered a
that's brutal. ACL, some knee ligament.
Yeah, serious knee injury. So
pretty much gonna be out for almost the year, you would imagine, or good at least 3/4 of it.
Yeah, so that's looking rough. Leon Bailey never was like a consistent threat, but Diaby coming in is a really nice addition there.
Yes.
And And then you have Jacob Ramsey, who had a great second half of the season as well. He's one that can contribute to the goals, so I like that option there. And then an area of concern I have is fullbacks, more so the tactical positioning. They like to push up Cash and Moreno really high up the pitch, leaving them at times exposed, so that's potential for an area that could be exploited. And then also kind of like the depth of fullbacks, especially playing in Europe this season.
What are you trying to say about Luca Digne?
Luca Digne is very washed. Yeah.
Unfortunate. Yeah, I would say my main question for their aspirations this year is, are they able to make a Newcastle-esque jump to go to the top four? Newcastle, we could see it last year. We could see it coming. I think we ended up having them in our predictions fifth. But we talked about how they could easily end up in that Champions League spot. It's just one of those things. They didn't have Europe last year, and that's a huge factor
Yeah.
to look at. Meanwhile, Villa, they will have the Europa Conference League. Thursdays, bit tougher. Premier League has never historically really helped you out with the Thursday games all that much, but
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Not great.
But, optimistically, there's a lot that you can look forward to. Solid end of the year. There are rumors about some guys leaving, guys like Emi Martinez, still able to keep them. Added key players to all facets of the squad. Think about that. Diaby, Tielemans, and Torres. Attack, midfield, and defense all got a major player. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the depth of their squad. Pretty much every position outside of fullback is just like stacked, and they have great options, and they have a really nice squad, looking to compete both in the Premier League and in the Europa Conference League. So I like that aspect. Some teams they get into the European spots and then they don't realize, like, oh, we need more depth. They think they can just get by on what they had. But Villa made some really smart signings. Really like Tielemans on the free. Diaby, great signing there, and Torres, good experience at the back as well. My dilemma for Villa would be, well, one, there's a lot of hype, like you mentioned. So that's potentially, some added pressure. And of course, they have to compete in Europe this season. But also, how long does it take to figure out the winning combination? That's kind of the flip side of having a lot of depth, is that sometimes it takes a while to figure out who your best options are.
Yeah, I mean, and that's there's something about a few of these teams are so deep that it's truly impressive. We never really had teams like this outside the Big Six for so long, that they'd always they patch it together for a year or two and then they kind of fall off.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it was built around one or two guys, and then it really kind of landed flat on its face.
Right.
But no, I mean, you see Newcastle, you see Villa, you see Brighton. Just really impressive what they're doing. I think Villa will make a nice run in the Europa Conference League. I think they'll be kind of spotty in the Premier League in terms of runs, but we'll see.
Yeah. My bold prediction for Aston Villa this year is that Diaby wins Player of the Year for Villa.
I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next team, Tottenham Hotspur in 7. Last year finished 8th. Personnel, the formations they liked to play last year, some variation of 3 at the back, but new system obviously with Ainge coming in 4-3-3, a lot with Celtic last season. Big players. Kane, the big news just mere moments ago.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's going to Bayern Munich.
Get your Lederhosen, Harry.
Auf Wiedersehen. Finally, he leaves.
You think he said that with his mouth agape to Daniel Levy? Auf Wiedersehen. I'm off. I'm off to Bayern.
I hope so. I surely hope so. It sounded like for a second that finally they agreed, Tottenham and Bayern, and then Kane got cold feet, but it sounds like the deal is going through and he will be a Bayern Munich player. So that'll be weird to see. Kane not in a Spurs.
So do you think he just goes to Bayern for like 3 years, wins some trophies, maybe a Champions League, and then comes back and just farms off like United checks? United still like, yes, we need Harry Kane when he's like 32. Is that, you think that's what it is, or what's the play for Harry Kane?
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility.
Okay. That makes sense.
So
But yeah, back to Tottenham.
yeah,
Now that they don't have
back
Harry
to
Kane.
the personnel.
Do you move them down to below Villa and below Brighton? Move them to ninth?
It's possible. It's possible.
Seventh feels like a lot for the goal scoring hole that will be missing.
Yeah, I think so, especially considering the new manager coming in. I feel like these positions are kind of flexible.
Yes.
6th through 8th or whatever it was. Yeah. 6th or 9th even.
Yeah.
I think anything could happen here. Especially now we got Kane leaving. They've got a new manager here. They got good talent like Kulusevski and Madison, but it's going to be a different Tottenham than what we're used to. I had their ceiling at 4 through 8. That probably shifts down to more like 6 through 10 even.
Yeah.
Maybe.
10's fair. I don't think they could do much worse than 10.
I mean, Kane has been hard carrying for quite a while here.
Scored over 40% of their goals last year, right?
Must have at least 40%.
Yeah.
I don't remember anyone else scoring.
Is between 40 and 50.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't remember Son's hat trick against Leicester City?
Yes,
Let me
after they
remind
gave
you
up.
real quick. Yes.
So keys to success. Well, the keys to success were to let Kane do his thing, but this year it's going to be the defense will have to be much better than last season. Midfield is a big area of concern. It sounded like Højbjerg was going to leave and go to Atletico Madrid, but
even Atletico, who takes Tottenham's trash, was like, we can't do that. That's not feasible. They said no way.
Just a really uninspiring squad Spurs have, which is kind of stark in contrast to Aston Villa, which we were just talking about. I very much do not love this team.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I love the Madison signing.
Yes.
Van de Ven's very rich for what it is, but I think that there's a lot of potential in what he has to do. I think he's more of a cool head when you have Romero running around like a madman. The keeper signing makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like it. It's just you're letting Kane go, but you're getting 100 mil for him. I don't know. I don't hate Tottenham summer. I just think that their team isn't. It's a necessary kind of rebuild / retool for their squad.
Yeah.
It had to be done. You're going on with Mourinho and Conte and stuff, and this illusion that you are an elite team, and you are not.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my main question was last year of Kane, but now we know obviously he's going. Will the textile result in more wins? I don't know, but at least you're not playing like cowards sitting back against Fulham at home.
Yeah, that
that
play style last year.
You're playing with respect, some self-respect. I've watched them play. I think that their new manager's style is very appealing to watch. I think it would be good if you gave them the right kind of funds. If they're able to sign the guys that they've been signing, I think that there's a chance for them to kind of have a quick turnaround. But I think this year will be some growth. Hopefully if things go the way that they've looked this preseason, I hope that they'll stick with this guy because I think he's got a little something for him in terms of what what Tottenham can draw, because normally Tottenham will hire a Nuno Espirito Santo, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a great signing for a manager.
Yeah, and you know, as they say, when one door closes, another opens. Potential for Tottenham to kind of have a revitalization, bring in some fresh blood. You know, maybe James Maddison can kind of lead that charge into the new era of Tottenham here, along with the new manager and some other good young guys coming in. My dilemma for this one, it was going to be how would Kane and Madison work together, you know, since Kane kind of occupies that number 10 spot at times, but obviously that's not going to be an issue. Now, I would say, can Richarlison play like he's not completely fraudulent?
Maybe. I think that what we've seen of Richarlison, we've never seen him in a system like this. I don't know if this necessarily suits him. Where you want him to be is kind of running a lot of times, but I mean, when he's at Watford, he kind of had a nose for goal more so than when he was at Everton in my books. As far as the play style, it'd make more sense if you look back to his Watford tape than Everton tapes, because Everton, it was just really counterattack, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
I it's one of those things where, you know, Son has, I guess, a potential for rebound. I just don't see it. I think they missed their window to sell him. They should have sold him, and I think that's why they're selling Kane. I'm just glad that they at least bolstered the defense and goalkeeper. That's my optimistic look for them. And they have no Europe, so they can at least just focus on the league. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just building forward with Kulishevsky, Madison, and kind of, you know, having Van de Ven be your younger core of guys in their prime right now is actually a lot better than I think most people would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My bold prediction for Tottenham is that Ainge gets sacked before the end of the season.
I could see it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's
An
for
indictment on
sure
him.
gonna happen, or it's an indictment on him, but it's just,
It's
Tottenham just kind of have that aura about them. But I'm not saying that it's impossible that they could have success under him. I think there's a decent chance. You know, there's pretty much no pressure on them whatsoever at this point. So, potential that they could have a good year, especially without playing in Europe. They can just focus on the Premier League, get some new guys in, and try and build something new.
Yes, I completely agree.
Moving
Move on to 6.
Yeah.
I had them a little higher than you, and by a little higher I mean one spot higher.
Yeah.
We're talking about Chelsea. Last year, 12th. It was the Todd Bowley show. Personnel was a mix of everything. They had 3 different managers, technically 4 if you want to count the bald man Bruno. Their personnel, obviously, Enzo, Reece James, Thiago Silva. Ceiling the basement 4 through 10. I think it's realistically 4 is like 2% chance, and I would say 10's like 2% chance. I think it'll be 5 or 6 is where they end up. Keys to success, Sam. Obviously, Reece James staying fit.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to the development of these young guys, and which ones really pop, especially in midfield. Guys like Andre Santos and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like you have a bunch of dice, and you're just gonna roll the dice and hope you get a good number.
Honestly, I feel like that's better to just buy, like, sure, you're gonna strike out a bunch, but just buying a bunch of Brazilian wonder kids for 20 million euros is better than spending 100 mil on certain other guys in my book, or like even 80 mil on guys that are bang average.
Yeah,
Don't
I
you
don't
think?
hate it.
Like, would you rather have like 3 cracks at Brazilian guys for 20 mil each, or would you have Mason Mount?
Definitely 3 cracks at Brazilian guys.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's happened with Paqueta all of a sudden. How Apparently, City wants him for 88 mil, and like
Yeah.
he wasn't even that great last season. Last season, he was like
Yeah.
decent and getting a little better towards the end of the season. But it's like, okay, well, you could bring in these guys for nothing and potentially
Yeah.
even
And it
flip
wasn't
them
really
at some point.
nothing. I mean, it's still like 30 mil, 35 mil, but still, I mean, that's peanuts compared to what a lot of these
In
guys are
this
going for and what
market.
he can go for now. Yeah, I completely agree with you. A main key to success too will definitely be finding someone who could be solid in front of net. Nicholas Jackson has been insane for them in preseason.
Yeah,
Actually scoring goals. Refused to take the number 9, the cursed number 9.
smart
Very
man.
smart choice. I guess my main question is, what's their main 11?
Hmm.
And this, I guess, is my real main. This is where we really get to the nut cutting questions. How long will guys have runs in the team if they stink? Like, what if Mudryk just sucks for the first like 6 games? And Poch is just like, yeah, no, you're out, and we're just rolling with something else.
Yeah,
Also, the too young, they don't have a ton of experience. I get the idea of clearing out as much as you can, getting rid of that stink from last year.
hmm
All you can really do as far as keeping somewhat veteran players, have to keep Reece James, have to keep Chilwell. Silva's only got a year left or so you might as well keep him. Enzo Fernandez you just brought in. But after that, it's like clear out as much as you can. I think the funniest part of this whole summer has been like people realizing Raheem Sterling sucks.
yeah.
It's like, were you like asleep for like 3 years? Where have you been?
They were just seeing him score tap-ins for City and like, oh my God, this guy's so good.
I know, and then they'll literally turn around and say that Holland's doing the same thing, and it's not impressive. Meanwhile, Holland will be like kicking a ball that's like way above his head
Yeah,
against Dortmund and
contorting
stuff.
his
It's
body.
like, yeah, and it's like, okay, yep, no, that's the same as Raheem Sterling. You're
Very much
100%
so.
right. Optimistic. Look, they hired the right manager, and I
Yes.
think it's been evident this whole preseason. I can't believe Chelsea fans wanted Luis Enrique and Nagelsmann. I'm never gonna forget that.
Yeah,
Because as soon as they sacked Potter, I was like, why is it not Pochettino? He knows the league. He's a world-class guy, but is what is. The risky and young signings have shown potential, and they've looked decent at times. Even some of the guys that they're going to loan out, like the Cassidy or whatever, the Italian kid that they're loaning out to Leicester. It's like he could realistically probably be on their team, but he just needs game time, so it's like throw him out there for on a loan. But last year of Thiago Silva, so you got to milk that leadership out of him and that experience. And then the no Europe at least. So you're just going to be focused. And they finished so bad last year that they have to play in the second round of the FA Cup. So they have to play Wimbledon. They get even more cup games. That's what Todd Bowley was going for. He's like, we're going for the ultimate FA Cup grind.
Yes.
Sam, what's your dilemma with Chelsea?
My dilemma is just, well, we talked about the potential benefits for these unknown young Brazilian guys. It also has potential to go very wrong.
Very true.
Like you said, a lot of inexperience in the squad, a lot of unknown qualities here. There's potential for it to be great, but also potential that it could go really bad. And that's kind of why I did 4 through 10 as a ceiling through basement, because I just see like there's a possibility for just about everything with this team. It's not like, okay, yeah, we know just about kind of where they'll be, in
Yeah,
these
no.
couple of
No one
spots.
truly knows.
It's just kind of wild,
It could
bringing
be
in
anything.
all these unknown guys. And then my big concern is the midfield depth is like a big red flag. And then last season goal scoring was such an issue, but I don't feel too bad about that with Nicholas Jackson having a great preseason here. And I just wanted to touch on the manager hire. I completely agree. I think it was the right choice. It's hilarious, like you said, people wanting Enrique after Chelsea
Completely unknowns.
have struggled so bad with scoring. You could just see them playing this endless horseshoe
Not
ball.
only that, doing that and then signing guys like Fernan Torres and like just guys that Murata comes back. Just guys
God.
that I want no interest with. Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I'm not, because they're not in Europe, I'm not super concerned with the depth. Adding Tyler Adams today will definitely help with that. They needed a 6.
Yeah, I really like
Fantastic
that
signing for 20-25 mil.
Yeah, that's such a bargain in the market.
Yeah, an experienced Premier League player who, by the way, no one will say this about him. Leeds would have stayed up if he stayed healthy last year.
Yes,
and I'd bet my life.
That's really the concern.
And Leeds sucked.
Whether he can stay healthy or not.
True, but if he's going to be a rotational guy at this point, we'll see. My main thing is that they got to utilize Enzo Fernandez correctly. And what I mean by that is, I think he's one of the, somehow, even though they spent a shit ton of money on him, they did so badly surrounding him last year and playing him the right way that they took him out of his strengths and plugged him in a spot to where they just needed him because they were so bad last year. He's got to be an 8, but going forward more. He really is just a Cesc Fabregas kind of regen. And I hope that they put the right kind of midfield personnel around him to where it's like you have some guys that are more ball winning. He can still do that, but he's going to have to be up a little more. So he's that 8/10 kind of combo.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the key to success for them. But Sam, what's your bold prediction for Chelsea?
Bold prediction. We've been hyping him up so far in this this little recap summary here of Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson hits the ground running, and then Poch develops young guys. Chelsea double their goal tally from last year of 29. That was a Hank.
I think they hit 60. I think they at least hit 60. And that's not even like that crazy of a number. It just goes to show how terrible they were last year.
Yeah.
Attack-wise. Yeah, what's your number for Nicholas Jackson before we move on? How many goals do you think? 12? Is that a lot? Is that too many?
I don't think that's too many. I think that's a good number, 12.
Good. Let's move on. Number 5. I had them a little lower. I think I had them 6 and you had them 5, but the math worked out that they landed on 5. Sam's Club, Manchester United.
Manchester United.
United.
Possibly the most overrated team in the league, honestly.
People are penciling them into top 4, and we're gonna get into it right now. But last year, third, a 4-2-3-1 action. But really, I wonder if that's gonna change this year to more 4-3-3, and they just go Casemiro because I don't see how they play Eriksen in that other DM role alongside Casemiro. Obviously, personnel: Rashford, Casemiro, and Sam's guy Le Butcher. Same as their ceiling. Basement is 4-7. I completely agree with that. Keys to success: don't wait till the second half to get in the games. That's correct. They got to get in early and often. They started doing that at times later in the year. But I think their main key to success is definitely going to have to be Bruno's consistency. It feels like every year he's just not as consistent as you would like. It's big explosive games and then it kind of drops off and there's a lull.
Mm-hmm.
But my main question with this is it just doesn't feel like a balanced squad, does it? Or am I crazy? It feels like it's forever they're just buying so many attackers and yet it's still not that great. They just bought Højlund. What was the official number? 70?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different numbers.
Yeah, you'll have to,
look
you'll have
this
to
up
confirm
and
it.
see
I know
what-
Mount ended up at 60 plus 5 for add-ons, which is another signing I just don't really get. I like that you're adding to the midfield. I think you're just adding the wrong kind of player to it. I think that they would have been better served spending a little less and going for even Kovacic off Chelsea would make more sense.
64
for them.
million
64
pounds
million
could
pounds.
rise to 72 based
Okay.
on add-ons, which is
And
insane.
My main question is, does Hoyland fit Man U? Because I have my skepticism about this, Sam.
Oh,
I like Hoyland. I've called it before, even in the summer. I liked him. I just felt like the team that makes the least amount of sense for him, well, two really, Liverpool and United, just wouldn't make any sense for him. I think Arsenal, you could even talk me into Chelsea would make sense for him, but I just don't get it with the whole you're going to be in possession. This guy's more of a counterattack kind of player. Um I don't know, we'll see. He could definitely just be a natural poacher. Uh but am I crazy for thinking that? I know you're just going to feed into it. You're going to double down even more than I did.
yeah, we'll just get the bold prediction out of the way. I think he's going to be a bust. I think there's just too much pressure on him already.
I
You
just
know,
think he's
he,
not the right style of player. I don't think it's talent or
yeah,
like the club's too big for him. I think it's just doesn't fit their personnel and what they're looking to do and what they need out of a striker.
it just feels like a classic case where it's like, okay, we need to upgrade in this position. There's no options, so we'll just go with this guy and overpay for him, even though he's not worth it and probably won't fit into our system. And like you were
It's
saying,
also I hate to say it because I think he's a really good player. I think highly of him compared to what a lot of people outside of Manchester United fans are saying about him. But it does feel a bit gimmicky. It's hard not to say that where
yeah,
he's a Scandinavian guy. He's a striker. He's pacey. It's like, oh well, he just bought Dollar Store Holland, and it's like,
hmm
in a sense, I suppose. But um, yeah, I'm just worried about the fit with how United play that he's gonna.
yeah, I don't think
That's
he's
more.
the answer to their prayers. And like you were saying with the squad composition, I don't quite understand it either. I don't understand Mount. I don't know what Mount's best position is at all. So I don't know how he fits into the team. Does he start on the left and then,
Yeah,
where
apparently.
where is Rashford playing if you have Holland, up front? Obviously, Rashford has to be the priority there, but I just
Yeah.
I don't understand
If I
what they're
if
going
I
for here.
was if I was United, I would have just been spamming a player swap for Kane and just say name the number. I would have
Yeah,
just been doing that the whole summer for
Kane
Levy.
would be
Just
so
been like,
perfect in the United squad.
yep, it would just make the most sense. I would have been like, what you want, Sancho and 80 mil, 90 mil, 100 mil. I don't care. I'm gonna say numbers until you give me Harry Kane.
It probably would have had to be at least like 120 for Levy.
Yeah, and I think it would make more sense than Mount and Hoyland,
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
but it is what it is.
So
I,
yeah, we talked about keys to success. Last season, they just didn't get into games in the first half, and then kind of woke up a bit in the second half and saved their bacon. They, you know, dug themselves out of a hole there. My dilemma: how does Mount fit into the equation, like we said, and then some other talking points. Anthony and Sancho, are these guys just like write-offs? How much money did they
no,
spend on
no,
those guys?
they still love those guys. They're still gonna play him a ton. I'm still of the opinion that right now, gun to my head, you make me pick one of these guys to like start and play a game, and I'm the manager. I would pick Garnacho over both. I would.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree 100%, and that's why I'm saying, are they a write-off? Um,
I don't think they'd admit it.
I think
Um,
I think Sancho at this point is closer to being a write-off. I think Anthony has
yeah,
kind of that
Anthony
new
has the one
shine
year.
still,
Yeah, yep.
um, but complete waste of funds on both of them, and no one
And this
talks
is the
about it.
whole gimmick thing with United. It's like buying these pacey wingers and stuff, and it's like that's not what your team needs, and it never really has. But they've always done that. They've always done that since Fergie left. Whether it's Depay, Di Maria, they fall in love with these wingers. It's just so odd to me.
Yeah,
Um, optimistic. look, solid results last year, including a cup win finally. Finally winning a cup for the first time in like 8 years, 7 years, something like that. You spent a ton on talent, so you have a lot of talent. The energy and buzz behind the team is at least good. You have the fans backing at least. How long, if the results don't go your way, will they just say you need to spend more? I wish they would just tell their board to spend wiser. That's the main thing. I would just be,
Yeah.
if I was a United fan, it'd be like, keep spending money like you are, just spend it wiser.
Yeah, fire the scouting department.
Yes.
I don't like Eric Ten Hag. I think he's fraudulent. I think he's
As
like the fourth fraud
Great line.
in a long list of frauds. But people are so
Yeah.
enamored by him. They're so enamored by him.
His personality is what does it for people, but I think it gives off a very, not saying he's as bad as this guy, but the whole, remember Stevie G when he's manager of Villa, he tried to act like so hard.
So hard.
He's like, yeah,
I think of Ten Hag as almost smug,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
really bothers me. And I think
And that's kind
something
of how
that's
United are as a club, though. That's their whole.
Yes.
That's their whole mentality of like even being smug about like how they're gonna sell their players. It's like clearly your guys aren't worth what they paid, and they're like, we want 60 mil for Maguire. It's like you're not playing him, and I don't know what world you think you're getting 60 mil for him. Like what planet are you on?
Yeah. And I think it's got to be said, too, a lot of these people putting United top 3, top 4 in their predictions aren't equating into the fact, like we talked about, Liverpool started terrible last season, Chelsea terrible season last season. It's like, are you expecting these teams to just play like they did last year? Because I think that is too big of an assumption.
Silliness. Yeah. Silliness. Anything else you want to say before we move on from United?
I think we've ripped into United enough.
I don't know if it's this year or next year, but one of the 2 years United's going to fall flat on their face and finish 6th or 7th, and it's going to be ugly.
Yes.
Moving on, 4th, Newcastle. Not many people put Newcastle back in the top 4. We're one of the few. Before we get to Newcastle, we got to say this about the bottom half preview, because we released our predictions last week, kind of really before everyone else did. And I think where we're off from most people, Sam, is Burnley. We have Burnley a lot lower than most people. Most people have Burnley like 11, 12, 13. And we had them, 16 or 17th?
Yeah.
Also, there's people picking Forest and Bournemouth to go down, and I don't know what these people. Forest I somewhat understand, but
Bournemouth.
The Bournemouth, it's like, what world are you? Are you in oblivion? You're in
the
video
you gotta
game
have your
oblivion.
eyes closed. If you're not, you don't even have to be some sort of genius to realize what Bournemouth are doing. It's like,
look at what they're spending. Look at the guy. Doesn't matter. Newcastle. They finished 4th last year. We have them 4th again. Personnel 4-3-3. The striker pairing, amazing. Wilson and Isak. Bruno G, got to keep him healthy this year. Trippier, amazing. And our boy Dan Burn, as always. Ceiling basement 3-6. Keys to success, got to capitalize on the St. James dominance. You got to keep up that physical style. And you really got to keep playing quick the way you are. Establish that aerial dominance. Establish that ball winning in midfield early and often. You know how Newcastle like to play.
Yeah. Get physical with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that St. James's Park is the best home field advantage in the league. We saw it last season. It was a fortress.
Okay. You can have that. That's cute. But let me tell you about Luton.
Luton, through the kitchen, lads. But yeah, I think that's just such a huge asset for them. That great fan base they have up there in Newcastle. Yeah, some questions this year. Obviously, going to be playing in Europe, so that's a new thing for them. How do they rotate the team?
Yeah, that's really what it'll come down to is that rotation for Europe versus the Premier League. I think Premier League you'll see a lot more of Eddie Howe kind of trying to sneak guys like Murphy, who was fantastic for him last year, um, and Elliot Anderson in there a
I
little
was
bit
just gonna
more,
say Elliot Anderson.
who's been massive for them in the preseason. I think they have a lot of faith with him.
Mhm.
Um, so obviously rotation would be a huge question, but the optimism, you still have a top two defense in the league. You added quality in attack with Harvey Barnes. Um, you got the young guys that are still stepping up to develop another year. Uh, and I think not everything went according to plan last year as far as injury luck.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wilson and Isak were hurt. You almost have to figure that in with them. Bruno G got hurt. You don't always have to factor that in. He's not injury prone, you wouldn't say, but here or there. The only thing that I would say is um, you're obviously not going to be able to play the same back four every single game like they almost did last year, it seemed like. So that'll be the one thing. But what's your main dilemma with them and how you feel the year's going to play out for them?
I think the big one is managing the playing time of Isak and Wilson, two guys who had injury problems last season. We saw when they were out, they struggled for goals. And then my biggest dilemma would be what happens if they really hit a run of bad form? How do they respond? We didn't really see it at all last season. They had a run of form where they struggled for goals, but it wasn't like they were losing every single game there. I'm still kind of curious, like, what happens if it really goes downhill? Do they have, kind of that experience, mental toughness to bounce back and pull it back together?
Yes. Yeah, it's one of those things where the depth will be a bit of a concern, but they've made a couple signings I really like. I think Anthony Gordon's going to be a real versatile player for them that they can use in different facets, and I'll kind of hint at your big bold prediction for him, but the Harvey Barnes signing was
Hmm.
I think fantastic. The only team it would have been better for was West Ham, but they just said we're not spending any money until we sell Rice.
Until we
So
have 200 million in the coffers
then we can spend 35 mil on a player.
on
Um,
Harry Maguire and
McTom and James
McTom.
Ward-Prowse. Yes. Um, yeah, I don't have much to say about Newcastle
Yeah,
anymore. I feel they feel the most outside of City, obviously. They feel like the most kind of safe team to me.
it's interesting. I don't feel as confident. Maybe I feel good about them, but I still think there's a lack of experience there.
That's fair with the
Coming
year
into
up.
the Champions League next season, or this season rather. But yeah, like you said, Harvey Barnes. My bold prediction is that he's a hit. We've talked about how some people are skeptical of the signing, but he performed last season in a really poor Leicester side, and I think
I
having
mean,
better supporting pieces,
I don't think it was a question. I think he was their player of the year last year.
yeah.
For Leicester, and they were good, albeit they got relegated. They're a great attacking team, not great, but you know what I mean for
Y-
Leicester
You know, I
stands. They're a good attacking team,
I think some people just struggle to see the trees in the forest. You know.
something like that, something like that. Let's move on, Sam. Number three. But before we move on, I need you to hold the fucking shirt, Sam.
You have to hold the fucking shit.
I hate Klopp. I fucking hate that guy.
Klopp's kind of gone into this like toxic era.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when they don't spend any money, and then you complain that they don't spend money, and now you're about to pay 110 million pounds for whatchamacallit,
Caicedo.
Caicedo. Remember when Klopp like complained that Paul Pogba was bought for 100 million pounds?
I don't remember that.
I'll send it to you.
But he
I'll
should be
find
happy that he didn't spend 100 million pounds on Paul Pogba because that guy, speak about fraudulent.
it.
That
Yes,
guy's like the president, CEO.
he's the CEO of Fraudulent Football Inc. Let's move on. Liverpool, we have them in third. Last year, fifth. little 4-3-3 action. You know the team: Allison, Salah, Van Dijk, Trent, and Robertson. Ceiling basement. You have it 1 through 5. You have a. What would you give the percent chance they win the league?
I would
3?
say like 10%.
Oh, that's pretty high. I feel like it's like 3, couple teams sprinkled in as 1, and then it's like Arsenal 25% and Man City like 66% or something like that. Somewhere there's math that adds up. If you made me break it down. Keys to success: one of the best attacks in the league, potential to be the best. A lot of versatile weapons on this team. You know, people are making fun of the rebuild for the midfield. They actually did spend a good amount. They got your boy Sobe, little Sobe water from Leipzig. Obviously McAllister from Brighton, and it looks like they're going to be getting Caicedo. You know, I guess my question with them is realistically, how long can it go on for them? You know, I feel like Klopp and Salah don't have that much time left, and it's like, well, are they gonna? How can you keep this going and whatnot? And I guess another question would be rotation as far as the attack. They have a ton of attack options right now.
Yeah, they really
You know,
do.
what are you doing with Gakpo? What are you doing with Darwizi Habibi, who apparently has a 5% chance to win the Golden Boot? I sent you that thing, right? Who came up with that number? That's insanity. The guy didn't even hit double digits last year. What are you talking about? I optimistically though, I obviously love the attack. I like the rebuild in midfield. Bit concerning that you still are relying on Fabinho to be your one ball winner in the pivot. I love Trent moving up to midfield. It's about time. He doesn't play defense. Allison's still the best keeper in the world. Defense, I'm slightly bullish on. I probably shouldn't be, but I'm still a little bullish just because last year's so bad. It's like, can they really be that bad back-to-back years?
But it got way better
once they moved Trent.
When they moved Trent.
Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder why. It's almost like he didn't play defense.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this Liverpool team. Luis Diaz, you'll be getting a full year of him again. There's a lot to like here, Sam. What's your outlook on Liverpool this year?
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but I'm like strong buy on Liverpool right now. I'm convinced by Liverpool. I think people are counting them out because they had a poor start this season last year. I think that was more of a fluke than anything, and I think they've got some things.
Like last year, they just
out.
really didn't come in mentally prepared. It had less to do with talent and stuff, and it just they were not focused.
Yeah. Dropping
and the
points
pitch in Fulham was dry.
The pitch was dry. Dropping points away way too much last season, especially to teams they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, the start to the year drawing with Palace, and then the losing to Man U after Man U lost at home to Brighton and Brentford. Or, well, I guess the Brentford game was at Brentford, but you know what I mean. Getting Ten Hag's first win. I guess if I had to pick one spot I'm still concerned about, it's that second center back spot where Konate definitely looked better last year than the year before. But Matip is like, he might as well be pee poo poo out there. He's no good anymore.
Yeah.
And they're just like holding on to guys like Nat Phillips and stuff that they'll never play. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't sell him. But yeah, I think their attack is just fantastic. We saw at times they were playing some amazing football, just really hands down the best attack at times. And I think that'll really show this year, especially having more options. Last year, Diaz was out for a long time. That's a big addition back into the team. Jota
coming back.
Yeah, I really like the options there. I think they're a dark horse to win the league, and I don't think many people are really giving them an option there.
I think it's one of those things last year too, where they started off slow, but it's one of those things too. We can't forget they relied so much on Firmino. Firmino didn't pop up with clutch goals. They could have easily finished like seventh.
Yes, that's true.
Like it's not even that crazy, seventh, eighth. Um, but I feel a lot better about their squad this year, a little more balanced. The only thing is that, and maybe it's just part because they always run into City when City's doing so well, but it always feels like they have more success in the cup with the Champions League or even the domestic cups
Hmm.
more so than winning the Premier League. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy, but that's what it feels like. But what's your bold prediction for Liverpool?
Well, I think Liverpool will either be competing for the title or it'll just go all completely wrong, and then Klopp will be out by the end of the year, or possibly just at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if I had to give bold prediction, I was going back and forth. At the end of the year, I was very high on Nunez, and I was like, all right, next year's going to be his year. And now everyone's like penciling him in to still pop off, and I'm very skeptical now. I'll have Darweezy Habibi single digit goals again, and I will have this is the last year of Mo Salah. I think he
Yeah,
gets sold. Where? I don't know, but I think
Saudi,
he gets sold. What's that?
Saudi.
Maybe. I could see it. Let's move on. We had these teams tied for 1 and 2. I'm going to call an audible just because the Paqueta news has scared me off. We're putting Arsenal second, Sam.
Good. That's what I had.
I know you did. So we'll cut it to Arsenal first.
All right.
Last year, second place, personnel of 4-3-3, mainly 4-2-3-1 is what you'll see. You know the team: Odegaard, Saka, Saliba, Eddie Nketiah.
Eddie and Ketia.
Ceiling, basement 1 through 4. Keys to success. Sam says stay confident and take risks.
Absolutely. That's the big thing with Arsenal. I think towards the end of the season they started to play not to lose instead of to win. You know, they felt the pressure and it got to them. There's still that soft underbelly of Arsenal. It's still there. It didn't seem like
Yeah.
it was there, but it's still there.
I don't know. It's one of those things to where I feel like we could be talking about a whole different thing if Mikel Arteta just plays Trossard and Jorginho.
Absolutely. For some reason,
It'd be like in baseball if like a team traded for a good reliever and like a good hitter, and then they're still playing well, and then just in like September they're like, actually, we're just gonna sit these guys until playoffs. It'd be like, what? It was just very odd the way that he went about, especially since you guys got bounced in the round of 16 in the Europa League. I mean, the main focus was the Premier League, and I just felt like he was a little too, maybe not conservative, but he stuck to his guns a little too much.
yeah, especially when the form started to take a dip
Yeah, a
there.
couple
Not
back-to-back draws, and he just kept rolling out the team. I was like,
exactly, not bringing back Trossard into the team or Jorginho, like you said. Yeah, I
Yep.
think that was a mistake.
all right, Sam. Does Declan Rice push them over the top? Or do you think there's a chance he'll be a bit underutilized and kind of overqualified for his role? I think there's a world in where that is kind of the case, where it's like they don't use him to his full abilities
Hmm.
because they don't necessarily need him to, and he's just not really necessarily West Ham Rice. But what he does is still great because he's just a great player. I just
Yeah.
think that because they're not going to rely on him as much as a team like West Ham, he might not shine as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially because Arsenal is going to be in possession quite a bit more than West Ham would. You know, he does a lot of his work off the ball. And then you just kind of have this new midfield here. You have Rice, obviously Partey is he's been with the team for a while now, but then you have Havertz as well. So that's a different look in the midfield. And that's going to be, something new for Arsenal to kind of figure out how exactly each player contributes towards that midfield.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's one of those things where it's like, is it going to get a bit overcomplicated? I could see Arsenal starting slow in like August, September, and then just, I don't know, more like November, December, just win like 9 games in a row.
Yeah.
I could easily see that happening. Bit worried Jesus is already hurt.
Hmm.
Is Nketiah just going to start up top, or are they just going to go with kind of rotation? Maybe you put like false nine, whether it's Trossard or even your boy Havertz
Well, in
up
preseason
there.
it was Havertz, which
I would just feel like you just roll with Nketiah there because
yeah,
it's just fine. It's
yeah,
especially you start the year with I think it's Forest, Sheffield United, and Palace. Don't overcomplicate things that much, but I feel like
yeah.
they might. And that's why I'm like, can Mick get the rotation right this time? Are we sure? I don't know, but
And,
we'll
and
see.
if I was going to go towards the false nine option, I'd just do Trossard. He did it last season.
We've got Super Leo Trossard.
Absolutely.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a big missing spot in the Arsenal squad is that true goal scorer that can really push them over the edge is what I think.
You need to sign Harry Kane. Need to hijack him from Bayern.
Yes.
Uh, so what's your kind of outlook on this season? What's your dilemma with what may be going on?
Well, high expectations after last season, but last season, it was a little different. The expectations weren't there. They were just kind of having a good time, enjoying the vibes, and then we saw once the pressure was put on them, they kind of cracked a bit.
Yeah.
Now, especially with the Champions League, you're going to have more games where you got to start better players and also potential, Champions League, you can get knocked down a peg and it can kind of mess with your mojo.
Yeah. I would suspect it might be one of those years where Arsenal kind of bounce out early in the European competition. Maybe they get to the round of 16, they lose right away, but I would suspect them to have more success in the Premier League than the
Yeah,
European competition.
I think so.
Let's hear your bold prediction, Sammy.
Bold prediction, Saka has a down year / spends time injured due to high workload.
I put that in last night just to mess with you.
Yeah,
I said that they'd sign Kane in the winter
you
window,
made
which
me
is
do a double
way
take there.
funnier.
I was like, wait, did
Which
I
is
write that?
which is so funny thinking about. Even if he didn't go to Bayern and he's like, I'm gonna stay at Tottenham for the year. The idea of they sign Kane in the winter window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't really come up with a good bold prediction for Arsenal. I was trying to get there, but
What do you think
I don't think I can.
of my bold prediction?
I don't know. I feel like Saka is what I feel the most confident in, like, of the stars. I know what he is. Um, there's times where he kind of goes missing, but it's more so because he just gets worn down, like you said. It's
Yeah.
like you can't. Turns out you can't play fucking 36 games a year. Turns out you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, last season's workload is kind of going to continue into this year because, at this point, teams don't have that much time in between seasons. It's like they have a month
Yeah.
off and then they're back to it.
On the U.S. tour,
Arteta's playing Saka every preseason game for some reason. I don't
which is insanity.
understand, but it's just like, there's going to come to a point where, maybe he doesn't get injured, but like last season, you see a dip in form.
Yeah. I guess if I had to give a bold prediction, it would be, I don't know. It's tough. We'll just go real outlandish here. We'll say Martinelli and Trossard, those two combined for 30 goals. How about that?
Excellent. I dearly hope so.
All right, let's get to the champs. Man City, last year first. Sam, no one. Well, I think it's happened before, but it was definitely way before the Premier League, and it was in the times where long time ago, Sam. Let's say that long time ago that we last saw a four-peat of a English champion. It's never happened in the Premier League era. Let me say that. Personnel 4-3-3, a little 3-4-2-1 at times. They have the best player in the world, Erling Haaland. They have the second best player in Sam's heart, Jack Grealish.
AKA
Kevin De
Gucci Grealish.
Bruyne, Rodri, Diaz, Nathan Ake, the ghost of Fabian Delph. You know him. You love him. Ceiling basement 1 to 2. Keys to success, obviously, just feed Erling Haaland. The midfield connection to the attack is always massive. It's so important getting that uh, getting that down, which is kind of why it's like Gundogan leaving. It's a big risk. It's a big chance.
Hmm.
Never stagnate. Always moving. Always imposing yourself on the match. Um, my main question is, what the hell's up with Phil Foden? Where is he fitting in? Why am I seeing like things like rumblings? Like it's like maybe he'd leave.
Yeah,
I don't really know what's going on.
a
And then
curious
also, are we
case.
sure Gundogan leaving is just like that's okay if we could just replace him with Kovacic? Because I don't think that's the case. I think they're two entirely different players.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a big one for me is Gundogan not quite being replaced, and you try to replace him with Kovacic. That's concerning. Gundogan was so instrumental last season, and I don't think people quite
He just
realized
always is.
they
He always
the
is. Always has.
extent
Always will.
they were like, okay, yeah, he was great at the end of the year and in the
Like no,
Champions League. It was like
it's like no, the whole year.
he was
The whole
instrumental
year.
the whole year, and when he wasn't in the team, you could tell.
Yeah. Um, the optimistic look. They have 3 of the 5 best players in the league. Adding Vardiol, some
Yeah.
more center back talent, as if they needed it. They're just loaded at it. Um, what's your dilemma and conclusion with this team, Sam?
Dilemma being that you have some guys like De Bruyne getting up there
Yeah,
in the age department. Also has some injury issues. Is it about time? The sunset
I
of his
think
career
I
there.
wouldn't rule it out that this is the last truly great De Bruyne year. I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, I think so. And then it's like, okay, Phil Foden, what's he gonna do? Could he be, a central midfield option? It doesn't
It's
seem like he's gonna
well, it's
be
just weird
as
because
much in attack.
it was like, oh, he's a 9. No, he's actually a wing. No, he's actually in midfield. No, he's actually a 10. It's like they always constantly move him around. And that's what Pep likes. He likes to always be moving and changing things and stuff, but it's also nice just to know where a guy should be slotting in.
Yeah, and then he'll have runs in the team where he plays a lot, and then he'll just be out of the team for like 3 months
Yeah,
for no
very,
reason.
very odd. Um, bold predictions, Sam?
We touched on it already plenty, but Gundogan, big miss. They're gonna
Yeah.
miss that productivity.
Yeah, I think mine is they're going to have a lot worse injury luck. I think their regression towards the norm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't really ever notice it or talk about it, but Erling Haaland, I think every year Dortmund got hurt for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Big ups to Pep last year managing him and making sure that when he was hurt for a little bit, it was only for like a week or 2 at most, and then it was good to go. He's back out there, but there's stretches where he's out,
Yep.
4, 5, 6 weeks. Same thing with Kovacic, very creamy hamstrings, especially at the ripe age, or I guess he's not really ripe anymore, but at the at
Overripe.
his age, yes, overripe, past ripe. That's not even a thing, but that it is now. I just feel like the depth is there. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things where some injuries don't go your way, and then you're in a tough spot. I think the losing of Mahrez will be interesting, just because not like he's the most important or influential, but there's like a couple games where he'll just pop up and he gets like a hat trick, or
Yeah.
like he gets a goal and 2 assists, and it's like you just can't bank on that anymore.
Yeah, especially against those kind of lower teams where you just need to rotate a guy in and,
Yeah,
plug and play, get that production.
100%, 100%. All right, Sam. Are we just gonna do our basic little run through predictions here for I didn't put that many categories down, just the most basic ones, but you want to run through them real quick?
Let's run through it.
Manager of the year, it'll be Pep because City will win the league, but our true manager of the year, who would you put?
Yeah,
Who would you give
I
a shout
like
out to?
Pochettino. I think there's a
Yeah.
great opportunity too, especially the season Chelsea had last season. So if he comes in and does a great job, that'll look even
Yeah.
more better considering last season. And then also you have all the young guys that I think he has good potential to develop.
True. Player of the year. I think you'll like my surprise little pick there. I tried to be spicy.
Yeah, I don't know if
Normally, it's always an attacking
yeah,
guy. That's why
exactly,
it's. But
exactly.
but we'll see. I think he's going to be influential, especially with Gundogan out, and having Kovacic. There's going to be flux in Man City's midfield, so I went with Rodri. I think if City are going to win the league, he's going to obviously have to be massive. But with the flux that's going on in Man City's midfield, he's a staple. He's one of the 5 best players in the league. I think there's a chance. If Haaland gets hurt, like I think there will be an extended time, his numbers won't be quite as good as last year. So I'm gonna go with Rodri. He'll be the staple for City, and City will win the league. So
I
I'm gonna go
like
with
that
him.
for the fact that 99% of predictions will just put Holland, and it's super boring. You know, that's not really an
Yeah,
interesting take at all.
especially when last year I was sitting there saying it's Haaland, and it's not even gonna be a fucking question.
Yeah,
And people were going on saying that Holland, it's disrespectful to guys like Kane and stuff to say Holland will be good, and it's like you're not even a human being like with a take like that. You're nuts. But
yeah.
what is your thoughts? Player of the year? You got a shout for anyone?
You know, if Liverpool pop off like they did, maybe
Yeah.
Alisson.
Ooh, that would be nice. I don't think I just feel like he never gets the credit he deserves,
No,
but
he doesn't. He doesn't. So we're giving him credit here.
but yeah, and I could see that would make more sense than a guy like Salah only because their attack is so loaded that I
Yeah,
think it's going to be very balanced.
yeah.
So,
By committee.
yeah. Um, first sack. This is. Could you choose someone different than me? I felt bad taking the obvious choice. I picked Moyes. I didn't want to do it. I stared at a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
Um, you could maybe do I don't know. Maybe do Sheffield's manager. What's his name?
Paul Heckingbottom.
Hacking bottom.
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
thinking of their
thinking
goalie,
thinking
Wes.
thinking him or maybe Luton's manager.
You can't let Rob Edwards
Oh, it's
go.
Rob
So,
Edwards, right?
well, solely for the fact that Watford sacked him in 10 games, and then you had Nathan Jones, got paid to let Nathan Jones go, and you brought him in, and the guy did the same job as Nathan Jones.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because okay, the approach here is that Luton they're like, okay, we're for sure getting relegated. You know, we're just gonna bank on getting this cash. So it's like if that's your option, then there's no point in sacking your manager. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's
we'll
like,
see
what's
if
the
they can
point?
really stick to the plan or
Not to
not.
mention, he's a younger guy. It's like if you keep him when you go down. Burnley did it with Dyche when they went down in, 2016 or whatever. They went down, came back up. They kept Dyche.
Yeah.
Rest is history.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
like Sheffield United is a better option because they just seem to be such a horribly ran club. I honestly don't even know how they got promoted.
yes. Um, biggest flop. It's funny because my biggest flop and biggest hit are both Arsenal guys, so you'll probably have mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, you said Havertz. Potential's there. I mean, there was a big price tag for a guy who has not been very good.
If it makes you feel better, there's also another guy in my gut who was a former Chelsea player, and it was 50-50.
uh, I think for me, I would say Hoyland
Okay.
is kind of that number one option for me, but
Yeah.
you know, maybe Caicedo at 110 million pounds.
Yeah. I still feel like he'll be good, just not that good, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I was thinking Mount was second place for me.
Mount, I like
I
that
could just see
option.
I could see another 3-goal, 3-assist year in 25 games, and
Especially
we're all
considering,
just sitting there like, is he just done? Is it done?
yeah, United
Like,
have a tendency to have these flop guys. Last year,
yeah.
Anthony, year before, Sancho.
Let's not forget the fact that people still don't view Anthony as a flop.
Yeah.
because he got 9 goals in like 30 games or 8 goals, whatever it was. Doesn't matter. So I had Havertz for biggest flop. Biggest hit, I had your boy Urian, Mr.
Urian.
Timber. I think he's gonna be an even better uh Zinchenko in terms of like versatility and kind of moving him around and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think if Arsenal are going to win the league, it's less because of getting guys like Rice and Havertz, and it's going to be having that ability to kind of plop these real good players in at different spots that provide utility. And obviously Saliba not getting hurt. So
Yeah, I really like that too. That versatility is really nice. Having someone other than Zinchenko who plays like 5 games a year, you love to see it because he cannot stay fit to save his life. Biggest hit, I think a shout for James Madison potentially.
I like it, especially without Kane there, but a little more variety.
It's
I could see
risky.
it.
It's risky.
I like the pick though. Who's the Big Sam team this year? We actually had it with Leeds last year, but I don't think we picked Leeds, which is sad. I went
Yeah.
Sheffield.
Yeah, Sheffield United. It feels like it the way that they run. Maybe Wolves seems like it could be an option, but it doesn't seem
Oh,
like they would
Mr.
hire him.
O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill, our boy. Are you not buying into Wolves slightly a little more? Like a 1% increase because it's our guy?
Well, I do love me some Gaz. I know people are very much down on Gaz, and I was not
Which
happy
I am
about it.
confused. I'm very confused about. If I had to pick another Big Sam team, it would have to be if things went wrong for Forest. I think
Forest, okay.
it could be Forest.
You know,
Um,
speaking about Wolves, quick, I just want to go on a little
about Lopetegui
aside.
officially out.
Lopetegui
And
out.
we talked last on the preview about how it's how they were gonna go with O'Neal. We brought it up.
Yeah. And
We're
then
geniuses.
I was reading people were just smack talking Gaz O'Neill. They're like, oh, you know what? The stats at Bournemouth were really bad last year. It's like, I will not take this slander. The man worked a miracle. He worked an absolute miracle. It doesn't matter if their play style sucked and the stats sucked. What happened? They stayed up. And guess what? Now they're on the cusp of thriving.
The whole analytics thing gets overplayed way too much.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Wolves fans are actually happy about it, and they like it. They're embracing it. From what I've read, they're
I
like, well,
saw
you know
the
what?
opposite.
Bournemouth's attack was. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw Wolves fans enjoying it, and they're like, you know what? Bournemouth's attack was better than ours last year.
See, I like that because that's like self-aware Wolves fans. The ones that I were reading, they're like, our squad is good. It's like, your squad is good. Your squad is awful. You spend no money. You can't even sign guys on free transfers.
Oh, they spent money. It was just they spent 50 mil on guys the last like 4 years, and they do nothing.
Yeah.
I just saw that they're handing Kilman the captain's band, and I think their vice captains were like Sarabia and someone else who I could see leaving in like a year, and I was like, that made me lose faith in the Gas. They're building momentum now. I'm out.
I like Kilman.
Yes, I do like that too. Promoted teams, I went pretty chalk, but I think there's just so much with those teams that it'd be hard for them not to stay up, or come back up. Leicester, obviously, Southampton, and I couldn't get their Leeds. I think Leeds will be near the playoff or in the playoff, but I couldn't get there. I said Ipswich.
Yeah, I feel
Ipswich
good.
with the double promotion.
I feel good about Leicester and Southampton. Southampton, I like their, Russell Martin, I believe, is the manager they brought in. I like what
they're
they got
just gonna
cooking.
suffocate teams with that play style.
Yeah.
And they have so much. They're gonna have so much money to play with if they actually sell Lavia and James Ward-Prowse and stuff. If they actually had to spend money, which I don't think they will. But even having like their talent-wise, having guys like Stu Armstrong and Adam Armstrong in the championship, like they stunk last year for the most part, a lot of their squad. But you still have young guys like Sulemana and stuff. I just have faith in them. The defense is a bit worrying.
Chuck
but
Alcaraz.
we'll see. Yes, Chuck. And then Leicester, I just feel we talked about this. I think that their new manager, who is Pep's assistant, will be fantastic for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're Leicester, so they're bound to have pull. So if they need to loan some guys or something, they can easily do that. And then the last spot's kind of a crapshoot. I thought about Leeds. I said, no, they're gonna have a transition year. Did you see the Max Aarons thing? He went there for for a.
They got gazumped by Bournemouth.
Yeah, terrible. I was between them, Ipswich, and then I thought about Sunderland. I was like, oh, maybe.
Yeah,
It's really just the anti-jinx. I can't put Millwall, but we all want Millwall to come up.
it's so hard to say that third spot because I mean freaking Luton got promoted last season, so it could be
Yeah.
anyone.
True.
And then previous season you
Except
had Forest.
QPR, unfortunately.
You had Forest who really struggled throughout most of the year, and then they just kind of popped up at the right time.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the championship. Yeah, should we go to game predictions, game by game predictions?
Let's.
Let's do it. We'll start off tomorrow's game, the 11th. Burnley, Man City. What are you looking for in this game, Sam?
Yeah, we'll see. Is Man City, sharp coming out of the gate? I think they will be. I think it'll be a pretty easy victory. I'm thinking 3-0 Man City.
And of course, I get they put it at the Etihad, but it's sort of like you're gonna make Burnley go there. I don't
No,
get it.
it's.
I'll go.
Isn't it at
Oh,
Turf Moor?
Is it
Yeah,
at
it's
Turf Moor?
Turf Moor. That's how I
Um,
want to open my season at Turf Moor.
Yeah.
What a showcase
lovely.
of English football.
Yeah. I'll go Man City 2-0. We'll keep it light.
Okay.
Arsenal, Forest. I'll be interested to see if Forest are just as bad on the road. I don't think it's even possible. Arsenal, it'll be interesting to see the official 11 with how much depth they got. I expect to see Sam's guy Cedric Soares out there, and Fabio Vieira in the first game, maybe El
El
Neni.
Neni.
Yeah, Arsenal looking pretty good, but they got Matt Turner in net for Forest.
The revenge game.
The revenge game, absolutely. I'm gonna go Arsenal 4-0 right off the bat.
Let's say Arsenal 2-0. Matt Turner's going to get his only start because Forest are going to sign Dean Henderson after the game.
Yes. Bournemouth, West Ham. I'm loving this. I'm loving this right now.
Vitality.
I think West Ham are going to start slow. I think they have a lot of transition still going on. Apparently Cresswell's going to be going to Wolves. The whole Paqueta thing, even if he doesn't get sold, has clearly thrown a monkey wrench in their system.
Mm-hmm.
But they got Edson Alvarez from Ajax.
But
they'll probably get Ward. What?
I was just going to say, he just signed like today, so
Yes.
how integrated into the team is he at this point?
Very, very integrated. They'll probably get Ward-Prowse, McTom, and Maguire at later dates, so I'm not worried like long term. We'll see. I just love what Bournemouth's doing, and they just keep adding to it. They just keep adding to
Alex Scott.
Getting Alex Scott, getting Max Aarons. Like you're crazy if you're not liking this team right now.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go with Bournemouth 2-0 victory.
I'm going to say 3-1 Bournemouth.
Brighton and Luton. This could be our first 6-0 if Brighton are full boat right now.
Could be a rude awakening for Luton.
Yeah, definitely interested to see it again with Brighton, what their go-to 11 is. Do you think James Milner's going to start, Sam?
I don't think so, but
they're going to have him in the
can't be
Caicedo
ruled
role.
Out.
Yeah, we'll see. And then Luton will just be fun to see them out there. It'll be novelty for a bit, and then it'll wear off and be like, wow, this team just sucks. But the Ross Barkley signing, Sam. Do you plug and play him?
Absolutely nuts, dude.
He just did.
You now remember Ross Barkley exists.
Nice's own. Nice was rolling with him and Aaron Ramsey last year.
Dude, that's what a nutty signing. My favorite part was that there was no rumors about it. They're just like, hey, we signed Ross Barkley. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I love it. I'm gonna go Brighton 3-0.
I'll say 4-0 Brighton.
That's my play of the week this week for a bet. Bournemouth and Brighton um, parlay. Not going to be a ton. Bournemouth is, I think, plus. I'll try and pull it up here quick. But last time I saw it was, I think, like plus 180 or something like that.
Hmm.
And then Brighton, I mean, obviously nothing fantastic. I think they're minus 300. But if you can get them, you add that together and you get it like plus 250 or something like that. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Uh, Everton Fulham, Sam. This is probably the one I don't have the best
Yeah.
read on
Yeah, it feels kind
out
of
of all the games.
like an
Trap
even
game for
matchup.
both teams,
Yeah.
which is it's very odd to say that.
Potential advantage Goodison Park there for Everton. Fulham, I don't know. I don't really have a read on them with this off season. Some weird things going on, so I kind of gotta get a read on them. I'm gonna say a 1-1 draw.
That's a lovely prediction. I was gonna say 1-1, but to be different, I will say 0-0.
0-0. Good meal.
Good meal indeed. Sheffield Sheffield against Crystal Palace at Bramall Lane.
Bramble.
Bramall. What are we thinking here, Sam?
Well,
With Crystal Palace.
we know that
Also,
Sheffield United is fan support merchants.
yes. So they could be last year's Nottingham Forest, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I like I like how I'm feeling about Palace this year. I still feel good about their midfield and defense. Them and Brighton are in the same boat. It's just the attack I have question marks about. Crystal Palace, two things to note here since we last talked about them. Signing of a Brazilian kid, Matthias Franca or something like that,
Yeah.
Franca. And then Big Lou Hall getting loaned in.
Love that.
Did you see why he chose Palace? I mean, he didn't really choose Palace, but Roy Hodgson played a huge role in
Let's go.
him going to Palace because Pochettino is friends with Roy Hodgson.
Dude, legends of the game. Lou Hall, Roy Hodgson. I mean, if
The
that doesn't
three-man
make it feel
handshake.
good.
Yes, I mean, and apparently the plans are use him on the left back spot for Mitchell until Mitchell comes back. When Mitchell comes back, they're going to plug him more as like a defensive midfielder. So we'll see. I'm going to go with a Palace 1-0 victory, and I don't feel great about it.
I'm going to say that Sheffield United is going to win. And then people are going to be like, you know what? Sheffield United. And then next week they're going to get smashed.
Or it's just they're down on Palace
Yeah.
right
Or
off the
down
bat,
on
too.
Palace.
I could
yeah.
see that.
I'm going to say 1-0 Sheffield United.
Okay. Newcastle, Aston Villa, potentially the game of the week.
Yeah.
Should be fantastic at St. James. Sam talked about the home field advantage for Newcastle that will be massive. You kind of know what their main 11 is. Feel real good about it. For both teams, as a matter of fact. In terms of tactics, Sam, how are you feeling? Because I feel like Newcastle getting all up in Villa could find themselves hard to build out of the back, but also really could kind of get behind Newcastle and expose them a bit if they use that pace right and are able to break.
Yeah, I think that there's a possibility of that, but I think there's also a possibility that the Newcastle center backs could neutralize Ollie Watkins. And I do like Newcastle's wide play potentially matching up against the Aston Villa defensive frailties at fullback.
Yes. I'm going to go with the 2-1 Newcastle victory.
I'm going to say
You're going to go with the draw. I can feel it.
3-1 Newcastle.
Wow. Brentford, Tottenham, at the Georgia Tech Community Stadium, of course. Brentford, like what they have in defense, like what they have in midfield, the attack. We'll see. We'll see if Sam's guy Wiesa gets off to a hot start.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I need to watch 10 minutes of this game to get a vibe check on Tottenham,
Yeah,
and then
to see
I'll
how alive they are.
understand, yes, if they're like reborn or if they're just still a dead meme.
I just realized that this Mickey Van de Ven is rocking a very iconic number, and Sam might actually be in on this guy, number 37.
37. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
It might be your all-time favorite Tottenham player, just off of that,
Might be. Might be.
behind Pape Sarr. Um,
Yeah, North
I
London
think that
Derby
there's
legend pop star.
I think that there's gonna be uh yeah, I'm getting a hard to feel out Tottenham and how they're gonna look right away. We saw the way that
Yeah.
they played in preseason. I just don't know if that's gonna translate against Brentford, the way Brentford played last year, where they used to have kind of load up the midfield against the bigger teams
Hmm.
and just make it hard for them to, get through there, not even through the defense. And then Tottenham's defense has been very counterattack prone anytime they leave it open. Uh, I'll go Brentford 2-1.
I was gonna say Brentford 2-1. I think it'll be a tough first test for Mr. Ainge. I think that'll be a welcome to the Premier League where it's not you're not at Celtic anymore where you can just bully all these nothing teams. You got, some strong teams through that
Uh,
1 through 10
yeah,
spot.
you watch your mouth, big Kilmarnock lad right here, brother. Uh, Chelsea, Liverpool. I don't know what to make of this game. It feels like it should be very attack orientated, but I don't know if it will be. I think
Yeah.
it'll be two teams kind of feeling each other out, and it's just going to result in a draw. Especially since, if Caicedo goes to one of these two teams, he'll play, but it's like, he hasn't played with them before. We'll see how it goes. I'll go 1-1. I think Salah scores. That'll be a little prediction there. You can tuck away.
Yeah, I think this is this is one of those games where it's like, okay, on paper it should be a great game, but in reality, 0-0.
It's not gonna be. Yeah, it was 1-1 or 0-0 is what I was gonna go with.
Yeah,
Sam, who's more likely to score, Lukaku or Ziyech?
Ziyech.
Did you see that Pochettino just said that Lukaku has to train on his own to keep away negativity?
Yeah, apparently Pochettino's big into like the vibes and the spirit and the energy.
Which is fantastic because who would ever let Lukaku anywhere near those guys? If I saw him talking to a player, I'd be like, actually, don't talk to him,
Yeah,
otherwise
go
I'll
away.
just drop you.
I can't blame you.
Man U and Wolves to wrap it up on Monday. Sam, what's the vibe for this game?
I don't know.
Does Gaz go to Old Trafford and do the unthinkable?
That would be amazing, and I
My
would
true
love it very
question is
much.
is our boy Dan Bentley gonna start over Jose Sa? I doubt it, but
I
I'd like
doubt
to
it.
think. I would like to dream.
I don't think so. You know, Gaz and his Brazilian keepers.
Yeah. Well, good thing that Jose Sa is Portuguese, but
Yeah, Portuguese, Brazilian,
same difference.
same colony.
Uh yeah, I don't know. What if Man U loses and their whole thing is that they just like suck to start the year?
I would love it, but I don't think they
Also, we
will.
know we didn't talk about official. Well, we kind of talked about it last pod, but the Onana signing technically becoming official,
Yeah.
and then he got chipped in his like second game from midfield, and Man U fans trying to play it down like it's nothing. It's like, yeah, we see this a lot. This is what happens with sweeper keepers. It's like you would see it like maybe with Neuer like once every like 5 years, and he's like the most extreme version of it.
Well,
Your guys,
Mateus is gonna
it's like
chip him.
I was gonna say you just signed this guy and 2 games in, he just got chipped and made like an error, and now you're defending him. It's weird. Also, did we talk about Johnny Evans signed for Man U?
I saw
Did we
that. I
talk
was like,
about that?
"What is this? When did this
He
happen?"
he played in like a preseason friendly. I think the one against Wrexham. I was like, wow, why did they do that? Fred's gonna be sold. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Donnie Van de Beek's gonna last longer than McTom.
I
That's
saw
amazing.
he was rumored to Spain.
I could see it. Mason Greenwood like bringing his child on the pitch at training, and there's like a coach holding it. Man, you just has weird vibes right now. I don't like
Very
it. I'm
weird vibes.
fully out. With that said, I think they win this game 1-0, and
2-0
it's
for me.
not convincing, which is not good because Wolves are stinky.
Yes.
You have a bold prediction for the week, Sam? My bold prediction, and it's not even bold, but I'm saying Salah scores for Liverpool.
I think my bold prediction is just that Sheffield United will win the game.
That is pretty bold. I don't think many people have that down. So.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Any last predictions you'd like to give?
Any last
I give an
prediction?
Arsenal one real quick?
Sure.
I think Florian Balogun stays in the Premier League. I don't know if they just loan him with an option to buy or if they just sell him outright, but I think he stays in the Premier League. I just don't know which team. I think it's going to be like out of nowhere. And we're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, West Ham has been rumored.
Yeah, I don't see West Ham doing it. West Ham's owners are rearing their ugly head. They had good player acquisition for a while, for like 3-4 years, and now they're just like, remember when we were like terrible owners? I think we go back to that now. They're like, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's let West Ham fans live in like a alternate reality, like they went in a coma, and it's like, yeah, we won a European trophy and we had a player worth 100 million pounds. Now we're back to being West Ham.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I feel. Any closing thoughts, Sam, before we go and we go enjoy the Premier League?
Yeah, I don't think I have any more bold predictions. I think I used up all my prediction juice on the top 10.
Good.
So, yeah.
Good. All right. Another fantastic episode. We will be back next week recapping the games from match day 1 and previewing match day 2 games.
Yes, sir.
All right, Sam. Adios, mis amigos.
Sayonara.